go. Okay, welcome.
Okay. So yeah, you might remember me from last time. I'm Matt. I have today I'm going to go over WANCHAIN, and one thing I wanted to also relay to you guys is not just about the coin itself, but also my framework of how I review a coin. And so maybe you guys, when you're just looking at something new, you can kind of take some of these concepts in mind when you're reviewing something, like what are the fundamentals, what are the technicals, what does the team bring to the table, who are the major investors, etc. So we'll get into all that, but I just want to show people some of the ways that I review coins, and I think that can help you, when you're doing your own research. Oh yeah, one of the reasons I'm out in Bali is I'm working on a project called WANCHAIN. It's actually a video game on the Waves platform, and I'll probably do a whole presentation on it at some point or another, but I just wanted to mention it to you. We can talk about it more later, but if you want to find out any more about it, it's at laserchain.io. To get started, I read this quote from, I think it was from Korean Jew Trading. He said, alts will not do anything but lose you money until Bitcoin shows real strength. Once that happens, people will get greedy again and want to make crazy alt gains. All the people who are saying, like, we can make 100x on these alts. So new money comes into them, and then you can start seeing your Satoshi value rise. And I think a lot of altcoins will be as powerful as Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is like the big one that is established. But I just want to let you guys know that right now in the current market, a lot of the alts aren't going to go up for a bit until we see like a lot of these institutional on-ramps become working, which I've heard as soon as like second quarter 2019, there's a Wall Street platform called Backed that's bringing, once Wall Street institutional investors can get in, that's like trillions of dollars into crypto, which right now we're only at a $250 billion market cap. So I'm still bullish on the future of everything, but right now in the short term, it does seem like, just this last week or yesterday, I was hearing a lot of coins crashed pretty hard. And so I think it's going to be a little down for a bit, but so this is my slide to get started. The other one was called Blockchain Interoperability Alliance, ION, ICON, and WANCHAIN. So this week we're going over WANCHAIN. These are, it's a connection of these three main platforms and a few others actually, called the Interoperability Alliance. And WANCHAIN is special because they're trying to redo banking. They want to connect the world's digital assets via private cross-chain smart contracts. So what that means is it's going to add privacy, like true privacy, to Bitcoin once it comes out. And I'm also going to go into how they're working with banking interfaces and why this might be a big deal. So it was released in June. Let me see. I need to move my screen here. Okay. So yeah, WANCHAIN 2.0 was released in June. They also have a wallet out. In December 2018, this is when they're supposed to link up with Bitcoin. So that's coming pretty soon, but that's when it'll start to really have some action. WANCHAIN was one of the most hyped ICOs. I don't know if you guys were aware of it at the time, but a lot of my friends who are ICO investors were just obsessed with WANCHAIN. It was getting like so much hype. And I was wondering if it was overhyped or not, but as I looked into it, I see why everyone thought it was such a big deal, and I'll explain more in a sec. So this is what I was just mentioning. Just even a few days ago, as I was looking at the price, it still dropped from there. So it's gone pretty low. It had an all-time high of around $9. It came out, I think I bought after ICO around $3. Yeah, there it goes up to $9, and then now it's down to just 6 cents, which is crazy low. if you believe in the fundamentals of the project, it's actually, kind of on sale. So here is some technicals. Let's see. Yeah, the funds raised through ICO. The ICO is only 34 cents. I don't think it will drop below that price because everyone's going to want to, keep that amount that they made. Let's see. So it actually came out as an ERC20 token, if you know what those are. That's on the Ethereum network, but it was swapped for its own WANCHAIN mainnet. So right now you can buy it on Binance and KuCoin and a few others. The way you can find out where to buy it is if you go to coinmarketcap.com and click markets, it'll tell you all the markets where it's available for purchase. And I know I'm going through a lot here, but it's kind of a lot to explain. There's a video, if you go to the WANCHAIN website, let me show here. I'm just going to play you guys this video. Oh, can you guys hear that?
No.
Okay, so I think that's a decent little overview there. Come back into this. Okay, so yeah, so WANCHAIN's goal is to design a new decentralized financial infrastructure, kind of like a bank, and working with intermediaries, they'll develop their own financial services. And I'll explain more what that actually means in a sec. Let's see. I guess I'll just read all this. Recently, it's been widely criticized how private banks can create book money anytime they, for example, grant a credit to a debtor. This line of reasoning makes them responsible for the most obscene and dangerous global inflation in history. WANCHAIN are trying to not only mimic banking institutions, but to translate the banking use case to distributed ledger technology and thereby transcend it. So what this means is not that to not cause further inflation. They're not trying to mimic that aspect of it, but to rather improve upon the current banking system so that that doesn't happen, so that we can reduce inflation. It's built on Ethereum. Let's see, let me go here. So the WANCHAIN's president started out at Goldman Sachs, and he was working there 1 year before the financial collapse. And so he got to see a lot of the issues in the major banking infrastructure, and he wanted to figure out how to change it. It identifies key shortcomings of the current system and promises greater stability, accessibility, and trust. Right now, it takes a long time to send money, and it's complicated and expensive. And what this can enable banks, a reason why they might want to join in is because they'll actually save billions per year by using this platform and format. So yeah, now that I've gone over some basics about WANCHAIN and banking, what else does it have? Why we would want to use it? Let's see. Oh yeah, so you there's going to be tokens and ICOs on top of WANCHAIN, and it has cross-chain transactions. I'm not sure if you guys know what that means, but it enables you to have, let's say you have your own preference of a coin, like Litecoin, and I don't want WANCHAIN, I can accept it and it will auto swap. So the cross-chain atomic swaps are going to allow people to trade with each other much more easily. Let's see. I know this is like kind of heavy in the text. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so if you wanted to do a cross-chain transaction from Ethereum to WANCHAIN using the WANCHAIN wallet, you can download the wallet on their website. This is how you would do it. It's inside the wallet itself. WANCHAIN also has this privacy protection. It uses ring signatures, which is, if you've heard of Monero, Monero uses ring signatures as well. Let's see. Yeah, it's what made Monero popular. Mm-hmm. On top of that, WANCHAIN can generate one-time accounts for every transaction that's issued. Those accounts aren't even visible without the associated scan key, and nobody can get the private key without the main private key. This offers impeccable privacy that WANCHAIN brings to all other blockchains that are being integrated. Users will be able to send Bitcoin, Ethereum, or all associated ERC20 tokens behind a veil of anonymity that at this point only privacy coins can offer. So let's see. Yeah, now we have all the technicalities out of the way. What other potential future applications can it work with? And it's kind of open. There's a lot of dApps that will come to it, and a lot of banks, companies can launch their own financial services internally on WANCHAIN platform and become bank teller windows. This comes back to that idea of interoperability, but yeah, there can be borrowing and lending, introduce additional payment methods. Let's see, decentralized exchanges are going to be big. DEX, I don't know if you've heard that term, but I'll go over another coin that is going to do cross-chain across various DEXs as well. Let's see. Yeah, so it's going to make it possible to trade ERC20 for BTC or even other blockchains like NEO or EOS. And the privacy protection is going to be important for a lot of people. And it's not just, a lot of people like to say that privacy coins are only for, like people using Monero on the Silk Road. But imagine you were a big company like even Samsung, and you wanted to place a big order for some parts. You don't want your competitors to just be able to look at the ledger and see exactly what you bought. So privacy is important for business to business as well, because of, yeah, all these reasons, security and anonymity, that this is going to be a big deal with even, sorry, side note, MasterCard recently just got a patent for privacy coins, or a privacy blockchain to integrate on their platform. Sorry, it's like I'm trying to read and think at the same time. Okay, let's see. Okay, so token issuance via ICOs. We were mentioning that. On top of WANCHAIN, traditional institutions will be able to create private chains called consortium chains that will be integrated on the WANCHAIN. And remember, this is part of the Interoperability Alliance with ICON and ION as well. And so they should be able to all talk to each other like this. The tokenization of the real world could mean anything like from airplane parts to stocks to houses, legal documents. Right now, I think Spotify just bought Music Chain, which is going to take copyright for music onto its own blockchain. Let's see here. So WANCHAIN is going to introduce proof of stake when Ethereum updates its own consensus algorithm. If you hold enough WAN, you'll be able to form 3 types of verification nodes that monitor and control all transactions. These nodes get rewarded in fees for different services. So this means if you own enough WAN for the proof of stake aspect, you get more passively, kind of like mining, but you don't have to mine. We can figure out how much that actually is, but we'll have to look that number up. So now that we know what WANCHAIN is and the scope and vision, we want to see if it can actually do it and what's the team and leadership behind it. So because WANCHAIN is working directly with Ethereum, I've heard that the CEO of Coinbase owns more Ethereum than Bitcoin. And then you have a lot of Wall Street and Silicon Valley who are bullish on Ethereum. Even though Ethereum itself right now has a lot of issues that it's trying to overcome, like they're bringing something called sharding, they're bringing in Raiden network to increase its speed. Raiden network is kind of like Lightning network. I think micro Raiden has started coming out, but Raiden isn't fully deployed yet. But once that does, it means Ethereum is going to be super cheap and fast. And the Casper algorithm that Ethereum is switching to is going to switch it over to proof of stake instead of just mining it, which will save energy costs. I don't know if you've heard, but it costs a ton of money and electricity right now to mine a Bitcoin. And so with all those things in mind, as Ethereum moves forward, even though I feel it has some problems right now, it should be able to build with the amount of developers they have working on it and the amount of institutional investment coming into it. So who is this guy, Jack Liu? He co-founded Factom, which was one of the first ICOs that it has Bill Gates as an investor, as their CTO in 2014. So let's see. I don't know. I don't think Bill Gates was the CTO. Jack Liu was the CTO. Let's see. So after Factom, he founded Wanglu Tech in China, and they started working on WANCHAIN. WANCHAIN's a nonprofit foundation listed in Singapore, and Wanglu Tech is in charge of commercial applications on WANCHAIN. One thing about WANCHAIN is even though they're a Chinese Singapore company, they're also based in Austin, Texas. And that gave them some freedom from when China, I don't know if you guys remember when China banned ICOs, WANCHAIN was still able to move forward because they're based also in Singapore and Austin. And this is the guy in Austin, Dustin Byington. He graduated from Columbia. He founded Bitcoin College in 2014. Satoshi Talent, Stokens Venture Capital, and Tendermint. And we can look into these different companies later. He's the president now of WANCHAIN. And so he has huge network because of Bitcoin College and Satoshi Talent. And remember, he worked at Goldman Sachs, so he knows a lot of the Wall Street cats and Silicon Valley people. The developers, several of the developers actually have PhDs. Ing Zheng and Zheng Liang, they worked at Hawaii. And Hawaii is actually bringing their own Bitcoin wallet onto the phone. It's a phone company. I don't know if you guys have heard of Hawaii, but that makes me feel good about it because he has those connections there. If you keep that in mind, he's like understanding the from the hardware level all the way up to the software. And there's a handful of other developers. Many articles had it at 23, but recently I just read there's over 40 engineers at their peaking office alone. So sometimes when a coin is down, some people will say like, oh, this coin's dead, it's a shit coin, things like that. But if you contemplate the scope of how many people are working on this, and how much money is going into it and who they're working with, it's not just easy to say that. It's like the whole market value has gone down, not just WANCHAIN.
That's right.
So I don't know if you've heard of Kyber Network as well. They were really, I was excited about them a few months ago. It's a decentralized exchange on the Ethereum, or working with Ethereum, and WANCHAIN is also partnered with Kyber. So that actually means Kyber is partnered with the Interoperability Alliance. Let's see. Oh yeah, Vitalik also endorses Kyber Network. So Kyber is a big one. So we got Ion, Icon, WANCHAIN, and Kyber. Oh, and Decentraland.
So many.
Yeah, it's like with the Icon, there was like 100 sub companies. Oh, so this is the part about investment. They received investments from River Capital and Fenbushi Capital, among many others. They were launched by the automotive components manufacturer WANCHAIN Group in 2015. Let's see, they bought, at the time, let's see, they bought this much Ether. But, sorry, I'm just thinking. So when I was mentioning other aspects that WANCHAIN could interface with, VeChain is doing this as well. Like VeChain is tracking things from like wine. When you buy wine, where did it come from? And where did it stop? And you can see the whole supply chain. And they're also working with BMW, and you can see like where all the parts came from. And so because this is an automotive component manufacturer investing in WANCHAIN, I haven't heard any details about it, but it's quite possible they can integrate some supply chain, similar blockchain things like that. So the subsidiary Blockchain Labs is a huge blockchain consulting company in Shanghai, and they have the I don't know if I'm saying that right, WANCHAIN Chain-Based Accelerator. That's an incubator. So what that means is they have advisors and funding to fund dApps to come onto the WANCHAIN platform with experts like building them. So kind of like if your company had a good idea and you wanted to talk to them, they could let you know what you needed to change or bring you on board and help accelerate you. And I really like that. And I like that that Icon is doing that as well. I think it was called Hashed. The one in South Korea is called Hashed. And so both of these are bringing all these other new ICOs onto the Interoperability Alliance. And so that might take a few years to really manifest, but once it gets going, the Interoperability Alliance as a whole is the largest blockchain network that is out right now. I know Hyperledger is another one that's really big, but I think Icon's bigger. I'll have to, Interoperability Alliance is bigger. We'll have to double check that. Okay, so after all we just went over, the missing piece, let's see. One thing, let's see. They launched their own smart city initiative in China, investing 30 billion over the course of 7 years and acquiring 83 million square feet in the land of Hangzhou, the capital of the province Zhejiang, close to Shanghai. So they're planning to use blockchain in their smart cars, securing battery life, pushing innovation in the field in general. And this, if they're investing 30 billion in blockchain smart cities, and this is also investing in WANCHAIN, this is a huge force that wants to see it succeed. They also hosted the Global Blockchain Summit in 2017 in Shanghai.
Wow.
It had over 1,000 speakers from all over the world speaking about blockchain tech. Another notable partner is the Cheongkong Graduate School of Business, alma mater to Alibaba's Jack Ma and Wu Yajun, who was the richest woman in China in 2012. So they're bringing out a lot of heavyweight people out of this graduate school of business, and they're also a partner. So the partners don't guarantee anything, but it shows what league we're working with here when it comes to the Chinese market. The WANCHAIN incubator could be a place beside the WAN Lab incubator to look out for cool ICOs to populate the private chains going live on WANCHAIN in 2019. It's a huge strategical advantage that it's set up in Singapore and the USA too. As I mentioned earlier, it helped them avoid getting knocked down by the China ban. Oh yeah, Byington said, we are saying we're cross-chain, but we're also cross-culture. And that's cool too. I like to see the Interoperability Alliance is bringing Korea, China, Canada, and America together closer in business as well. Let's see here. So Kyber Network, that's one to look into. I recommend. They're still improving it all the time. I remember when it first came out, it was a little bit slow, but decentralized exchanges are getting more popular. It lets you keep all your coins in your own wallet and not on some platform like Binance, where it could potentially be hacked and you could lose things. You get to keep all your funds secure. And even Binance just recently announced they're doing Binance 2.0 on DEX. That's coming out. So all these platforms are moving to decentralized exchanges. DEX, like my company LaserChain, is actually built on the Waves DEX. So who are the competitors of WANCHAIN? They're not really competitors, actually. I feel they could work with them. Komodo is another one that I'm really big on. I'll probably do an entire presentation on Komodo. If you look at a site called Crypto Miso, it shows the amount of GitHub commits that the developers have put in, and Komodo KMD has the most GitHub commits. I don't know if that really truly means that they're better than someone else who just didn't have to do as many, but it looks like they have done the most cross-chain atomic swaps, and I can explain what those are later, but Komodo is a really big one to look out for. Let's see, so Ripple, I'm not the biggest fan of Ripple, but it is backed by major banking institutions. They're not really decentralized, and I think if I had a choice for me personally between Ripple and WANCHAIN, I would go with WANCHAIN myself. They're building tons of different financial services. So I think when on the surface, we're not really sure what they're even doing. There's so much to this, and there's so much like deeper levels and connections that you have to really look into it. Even though I've just gone over a whole lot, I'm only like scratching the surface. yeah, keep in mind that blockchain is still in its infancy. I saw this video of Bill Gates in like '93, and people were asking him, "What's the internet? Why would I use that?" We're kind of in a similar space. Like a lot of people do know about blockchain, but I also think we're a little bit ahead of the curve, and it's still kind of some people go like, "Oh, I don't even think cryptocurrency is going to go anywhere." That's like when people in '93 were saying they didn't think the internet would be anything. I think I see, the amount of billions being put into this. Every country, almost every country on earth is doing something on blockchain level. It's kind of like in my mind, the next internet. It's like the internet 2.0 kind of a thing. So let's see. One thing I loved about the Interoperability Alliance is if you consider that Korea is accelerated like 5 years ahead of us, they're already encountering not just the issue of going on blockchain, but the interoperability. How do they communicate with each other across these chains? And so WANCHAIN and ICON and ION already tackling that future issue today is going to be really useful. Once it starts coming out, I feel that pretty much every company connected with the Interoperability Alliance should do decently because they're all going to be able to lift each other up. And there's room in this space for multiple of the same thing. Like, maybe Ripple still does banking, but WANCHAIN does banking with some other banks. This platform I wanted to mention, I just heard about this a few weeks ago from Bitcoin Bravado, who I really like their signals. They're a big team of analysts. It's called Nix Platform. And they have something called Ghost Protocol, which it's based on the ZK proof protocol, Zero Coin. It adds additional bulletproof privacy. This is a bunch, stealth addresses, Tor, proxy. I can get into all that, but what's cool about them is they're already there, whereas WANCHAIN is still building. Nix came out, to me, seemingly out of nowhere, but we're already like ready to go. They can already do cross-chain atomic swaps. But the main thing about Nix, which is cool, is they're not just a coin exchange, they're a DEX to DEX exchange. So like I was saying, KMD and Kyber Network and BlockNet. What this means is that any coin traded on any of the connected DEXs will be private. You can trade Bitcoin for Litecoin or Dash. It's going to be on a decentralized platform with no trail, and you can send it across multiple platforms. This is going to be huge in crypto just because companies need privacy, people need privacy. It's a bigger deal, I think, than most people realize, but there also is a risk, I guess, of governments hating it because they want to see where all the money went. And so if it gets regulated, what does that look like? So there is that risk to keep in mind if governments try to crack down on it. But the cool thing that I see happening is tons of members of Congress, tons of Wall Street who are funding all these various political platforms. What happened in Colorado when they legalized recreational marijuana is all this money flooded in where they had like more money than they knew what to do with, and it went back to like people, like a reverse tax. They started to improve the schooling system, and now medical has gotten such a stranglehold there on politically that it's not going to go anywhere. And so I feel the same about a lot of these privacy coins and major cryptocurrencies is when like half of Congress is heavily invested in various cryptos, they're going to want to see it succeed as well because it's their own personal money. And it's not that many people into it yet, but I see a few that are bullish on it, and that's cool. Like like how they didn't regulate it away. There was a recently congressional hearing where we were scared they were going to regulate crypto and maybe even outright ban it. But someone said for us to be competitive technologically with the rest of the world, we should like embrace it, you know, with safety, because we don't want like grandmothers to get tricked by fake ICOs all the time. So there does need to be some regulation, but how do we make our people able to participate without, you know, losing everything? I mentioned earlier, Ethereum has some issues. It has a scalability issue. I don't know if you heard about CryptoKitties was bringing down the whole network. That's not good for the future of Ethereum and banking, but their version of the Lightning Network called Raiden is coming in. It's being built out. And so when you contemplate that Ethereum has like Coinbase, Wall Street, all these major companies behind it, tons of developers, there's upgrades coming that you might want to Google, like Plasma, Sharding, Raiden. I see Ethereum becoming really strong and overcoming a lot of its own issues. That a lot of the new coins coming out are just trying to, like EOS is doing a lot of the things that eventually what they're calling Ethereum 2.0 will do as well. So another thing outside of that, let's say worst case scenario, Ethereum doesn't get it together and start working awesomely. WANCHAIN are also not fully dependent on it, and they can work on their own platform. They have a stellar team of like dozens of developers in-house, many with PhDs, and they have the cooperation and knowledge sharing of the entire Interoperability Alliance. So that was like Icon, Ion, The Loop. So they have this major backing. That being said, I'm still confident in Ethereum long term. Right now, short term, it's probably not going to do too well until Bitcoin starts going up again. But long term, you got to just think of the money. The billionaires don't want to see it fail. They're already really into it. So similar to the previous explanation of Icon, this was a trip down a rabbit hole. Investing in WANCHAIN is an investment in the cryptocurrency and digital asset ecosystem as a whole by integrating more and more original chains into the WANCHAIN. While these original chains gain adoption themselves, its network value will increase further and further. Think about how you have to have Ethereum ERC20 tokens to even get into a lot of ICOs. WANCHAIN, as new platforms are built on top of it, it's going to be able to piggyback on the adaptation and success of other blockchains. And it's also going to integrate with Ethereum and Bitcoin. So when you see it like that, right now we're at the point when Ethereum was like under $10. That's what WANCHAIN looks like today. But in a few years, it could easily be, much higher. Bruce Fenton from Bitcoin Foundation said right now it takes 3 weeks to transfer stock between brokers. With a token, it will take 10 minutes or, and maybe even faster. So once WANCHAIN starts doing that, banks will save so much time and money, it would be a bad idea to not go with them. They do have a shot at being the distributed or decentralized bank of this emerging ecosystem. It could be a hub of a plethora of bank insurances, all other kinds of businesses and institutions that can deal in things that are securitized, that can be tokenized. And I think there's a lot of room in this space as well. Like I was saying, I think Ripple will probably be doing stuff in India and Asia and across the world. Stellar Lumens, they're working with Hyperledger. They're doing remittance. Right now, if you want to send Western Union to your family in like Ukraine, it costs too much money to send a low amount. A lot of people are often paying double just to send the original, where as Stellar Lumens, it's something like 0.0001 cent to send any amount. Like you can send someone, you know, $2, and it only costs you a fraction of a penny. And once that comes out, that's just going to help ease the friction worldwide of monetary transfer. I do want to mention my financial advisor advised me to say this. This is not financial advice, so please do your own research. These are just some of my own research into these coins, but I'm not telling you to buy this or not. But just, you know, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. And then, yeah, do you guys have any questions about WANCHAIN?
I notice, I'm just going back to my records here, Matt, and I look at when I first invested in WANCHAIN, which was back in July. It was $3.35, and no, it was actually...
That's about when I got it.
I bought it in May at $12.15. I'm talking Aussie dollars. At, yeah, $12. And then in July, it was $3.35, and now you say it's 11 cents?
I think it was 65 cents. Yeah.
65.
So
okay.
it's, yeah. So it's gone down quite a bit, but if you can remember historically, like when Bitcoin, it went up to, you know, $10, then crashed all the way down to, you know, cents. I feel like it's going to follow a similar pattern. And
yes,
so I'm
it's good to reflect on the behaviour that I've actually already, the fact that I bought and what I bought at, and I'm inclined to want to go in and buy some because of where it's at right now and where it could go.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that background material. That gives me confidence.
Yeah, because I as well, sometimes, you know, if you're just looking out on Twitter and some coin's not doing well, and people will, you know, spread FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt. And if you don't really understand, like I actually learned some in my own research here, like I didn't know how much they were working with Ethereum directly, how their partner has invested 30 billion in other projects, how much they're integrated with the banking system. And once that became clear to me, then no matter what the price goes to, those guys are still going to be around.
Yes.
I don't have any doubts. Like I feel like confident in the whole Interoperability Alliance still. One that's kind of fuzzy to me is ION. I'm going to do some more research, but what I've continually heard is that they're working with major enterprise platforms, but they're not announcing anything until they deploy it. So they could be working with like anyone. That could be really big. So ION is another member of the Interoperability Alliance that I think is a sleeper. I don't even know what they're at today. I'll have to do some research, but I think I might go over them next time if I can find some more details. But they're kind of hidden right now to me.
So thank you for the session today. It's left me with a good feeling, a sense of confidence and trust, and looking at the amount of research and the quality of the people that are going into these coins and development.
Yeah, because some of the other coins will offer a lot of, you know, one day we're going to do this or that. But what I like to see are coins that already have a working product, and WANCHAIN's already working. Like you can already use it. So that's cool to see that it's not just a pipe dream. And then we know these people are serious. They want to see it succeed. So in keeping that in mind, yeah, who's involved? What are they doing? If there was one coin, their like last 3 coins were scams, it's like, I'm not going to go with them. They don't know what they're talking about. I think it was the guy from like Zcash. I don't know. I don't want to spread rumors, but yeah. But yeah, any other questions? How about, is that Jeremy?
Yeah, hey, you started by saying that the altcoins will appreciate again once Bitcoin does. And I'm wondering if you have a general sense of when this institutional money will start to come in and that will happen.
So yeah, there's a platform. It's called Backed. Let me see if I can find it real quick, actually, for you. Wall Street Backed. It's BAKKT. Oh, ICE is Backed. Let's see. Here we go. NYSE. So this is being built. What does it say? Oh yeah, it's backed by Microsoft and Starbucks, and it's called Backed. I think this is going to be for institutional investors, but what it's going to do is bring cryptocurrency to retirement funds. I think one way I mentioned in the last presentation how worldwide mass adoption can happen is if we make it frictionless. Like if one day your credit card is just already interfacing with crypto and you don't have to like do anything, that's going to make it so easy for everyone to just use it like regular money. Right now in the Cash app, you can send Bitcoin or normal money or fiat. And so I think that's the way it's going to go down. It's not going to be like this obscure thing that people have to do complicated sign-up forms. A major block is consumer protection. You know how right now if you send your Bitcoin to the wrong address, it just goes away. Like there's no way to retrieve it. There's no consumer layer protection. And from what I've heard from everyone on Wall Street, that's what the major institutional investors and your average person wants to know, that if stuff goes, like if they get robbed, if they get hacked, if they accidentally send the wrong money to somewhere, is there any recourse? Now you have some like Bitcoin anarchists who are like, we don't need any bank, we don't need any help. But for the average person, I think this is going to be huge, because I want that as well. What if I accidentally lose, 30 Bitcoin sending them to the wrong address? If there was some way that I could appeal, also recently, I think the guy from Ripple, one of the founders, passed away, and it lost something like $500 million. That's just lost. Like the whole coin ecosystem could try to do something like what Ethereum did with the DAO hack, which was they forked the project and reversed the timeline. But I don't like that, because that sets a bad precedent of, what if your money that you earned over the past year was just like timeline fork? Instead of that, EOS has a cool thing where you can appeal, like say someone passes away and you want to get access to this wallet. There's a way to possibly have a chance to get it. And I think that's the main thing that Backed brings and what the institutional investors want. So anyway, out of all that, they're building it, and I'm hearing it might be as late as the second quarter of 2019. So I'm not hearing on my radar anytime soon for some super bull run, although it may ramp up towards December. I'm actually hoping for a slow, reasonable rise instead of this huge bull run all of a sudden, because if it goes up slowly and reasonable, we can still get in. It's going to take time. I have like a 10-year view of crypto. I got in around 2010, and I got to see all the ups and downs and everything happen. So I feel it's happening at the same rate. But what this Backed does, if you can imagine global adoption, if it's on credit cards, if it's at Starbucks, if people are spending Bitcoin daily with Lightning Network at Starbucks, Microsoft products already integrate Bitcoin. This is where it's going to allow institutional investors who have trillions. This is going to bring the whole entire market cap way, way up. Eventually, 10 trillion plus, and then it won't be as volatile. And it will also, like, let's say just Bitcoin goes up. Now everyone's made some money. They want to find those gems in the other ICOs and platforms that already exist. And so they're going to spend their new Bitcoin profits on a lot of these other alts. So I see it's kind of happened in the past, like Bitcoin moons, alt moons. I can't really say for sure. I've heard even as far out as like, 2022. I don't think it's going to take that long. Let's see. Let me see if this has any info on when this back really comes on. But yeah, I just figure they're building it. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. This is a bit much. I'll have to read through all this later. But let's go here. But yeah. But yeah, have you heard of that?
No, huh?
Yeah, this makes me really positive about the future of crypto. Like once Wall Street wants to get in, they're not fudding it so much as more. They're like really getting on board. There's another coin called Cash, QASH. There's like 3 other ones. I'll probably go over those in a future conference. But when you realize that the main issue for these major institutional players is they, like if they're working with a hedge fund, they need to know that there's some type of custodial consumer protection, insurance, ways to get on, because they're dealing with like millions, billions, and trillions of dollars, and they can't afford to have it be as currently flimsy as it is to like for the individual person to go on local Bitcoins and like trade and buy with someone. They need a way to be able to just like really get in heavy. And one thing that's doing that is Coinbase custodial services. Let's see, let me show you that. And also LedgerX. So LedgerX is backed by Google, and they deal with companies that I think have over 10 million. So this is a platform that's coming on. If you can imagine, I think there's not too many Bitcoins left, and if all those millionaires wanted just one Bitcoin, they couldn't have one. So yeah, this is like for institutional, like for like if you can imagine, like if Yale College wanted to store some Bitcoin, they would probably do it with Coinbase here. Yeah, so there's a bunch of that coming. It's all still, in the very early phase. If you can think that we're in like the year 95 of the internet, but the timeline is way accelerated. Like crypto space is something like 12 times faster than normal time. So I think you might not have to wait too long. Everything's happening pretty fast.
Do you see any real short-term possibilities for altcoins? Like, are you foreseeing any potential gain in the short term for any of these altcoins?
It's not as clear as the long term. So the long term, I'm like mega bullish, like 100% sure that everything's going to be fine in the long term. In the short term, I do think there could be some little spikes here and there sooner than as far out as I'm saying. When the point that I'm mentioning way out there is like when if I said just buy yourself like one Bitcoin today and try to hold on to it for 10 years. In 10 years, I don't know what it would be worth, but it would probably be at least double or 10x what it's worth today. The altcoins, I would just keep an eye on them as soon as we see Bitcoin go up again. So this could happen in the next month or the next, I'm not exactly sure the time frame. But let's say like within the next month, Bitcoin does a little jump. All the news stories report it, people start buying it, people start making profits, then they buy back into Ethereum. Ethereum and all the alts have been hit really hard because of what Bitcoin's been doing. But once that happens, you might see some action short term, but I'm not very clear on it. But yeah, if you take like a zoom out to second quarter 2019, we should see similarly good things happening then. And I'm more of a midterm investor than a day trader. Sometimes I do swing trading. Right now, I've just been holding because most everything dropped. I have a lot in Bitcoin, and yeah, I'm just waiting it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks. Once I make some money, maybe I'll look into WAN.
Yeah, and feel free to message me. I'm on Facebook as Mattbo. If you guys have any questions about anything, I like helping people, with various blockchain tech stuff. So yeah, I think that wraps it up. Is Brett around?
Yeah, thank you. That was terrific. Yeah, really always educational. So yeah, terrific, Matt. Thank you for this deep dive analysis. Yeah, I learned a lot, and I look forward to, we'll send this out and share it with the rest of the group, and we'll look forward to the next session next week.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Great talking to you. Huh.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for attending and for viewing. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.